Verse 477. How is it that you do not differ from the philosophers as regards appearance? Tell me, whence is the rise of the Nyaya school, its future? So the first question that Muhammad is asking the Buddha is, how is it that you do not differ from the philosophers as regards appearance? And I somewhat suspect this isn't just referring to the Buddha's physical appearance. It's referring to the appearance of the physical world and how we respond to that. Because this is the key question, our relationship with the world of appearances. Now the question asks, how is it that the Buddha doesn't differ from what philosophers have to say about appearances? In other words, what does the Buddha have in common with what the philosophers say about appearance? And the Buddha in general could talk about how sense appearances, what appears to the senses, gives rise to craving. And there's a general assumption which is being adhered to here. And that assumption is that there is actually a world out there, which the individual here is perceiving through the senses. This is a conventional understanding, and this is how we talk. And the Nyaya school, which is mentioned in the next question, is one of the schools of Hindu philosophy, which, amongst other things, is concerned with how we can actually know things. And it states that one of the ways that we can know things is through the senses, and this is in keeping with modern science. We know things through the senses. And this is indeed its future, isn't it? Hamiti asks about the future of the Nyaya school. Well, this is the understanding that we all adhere to, that we know things through the senses. We're trapped in this understanding, we're trapped in this assumption. And as far as being enlightenment practitioners, this teaching has no future. Because this story of the senses is no more than that, it's a story. At some point, the whole objective physical world is supposed to become a subjective experience. The point at which it does so is very mysterious. In fact, as I've explored in previous videos, the story of perception consists of a rather unacceptable non sequitur. This means it doesn't follow. The senses transmit electrical signals to the brain. This is a story. This is all we're actually in receipt of, electrical signals. And somehow, this is where it all just falls apart. These electrical signals are reconstructed into the whole world of our sensory experiences. Not only that, the reconstruction that these electrical signals are supposed to reflect is presented to some mysterious entity, us, which can act on this information. The whole story is fraught with cracks, which are incredibly wide, revealing deep chasms in understanding. And yet we all adhere to this story. The teaching in these videos, the teaching in the Lankavatara Sutra, is telling us to bypass this story, to drop it. There is simply appearances going on, like the appearances in a dream. In a dream, you have eyes, you have ears and so on, yet you're not perceiving anything. You're not perceiving anything through these eyes, through these ears, through these senses. And this is what's meant by emptiness. There's nothing behind it. And this is what's explored in the next verse, 478. What is meant by emptiness? What do you understand by momentary destruction? Whence is the womb? And whence is the stability of the world? So we're moving into some insightful understanding here. This is where the Buddha actually differs from what the philosophers say. The Buddha does not take his cue from the world of appearances. The Buddha realizes the nature of the world of appearances. He realizes its dreamlike nature, its insubstantial nature. It's like a dream. It's empty of any substance. And once you understand this, once you see this for yourself, you relate to it in a completely different way. Now this next question, what do you understand by momentary destruction? Well, it's an instantaneous destruction of your investment in this world. Once you no longer accept that it's an external reality, you still get on with it, you still engage with it, but you're no longer taking it so seriously. We take things very, very seriously, don't we? And this adds to our neurosis and our anxieties, our worries, our fears. We accrue a huge amount of psychological and emotional baggage. Well, we can drop all that. We get on with what we have to get on with, but we drop all the baggage. All the baggage concerning little old me and my worries and concerns. All the baggage relating to that horrible world out there that we have to somehow survive in and improve. We all seem to be expected as individuals to take on global responsibility these days. Save the planet. I'm not arguing that you shouldn't do that. Just get on with it. Get on with doing whatever you have to get on with. Just stop worrying about it. Now the next question, whence is the womb? And this is the womb with a capital W. In other words, we're still focused on this world of appearances. Where does it all come from? What gave birth to it? It seems to be hanging around. This is why we think it's something real. It's stable. The world is going on. Okay, it might be in turmoil. We might not describe it as stable, but it's stable in terms of its ongoing appearances. So these are questions which need to be addressed. We need to look at our assumptions about the world, about where it comes from, and about how it keeps going. And where it comes from will depend on your particular beliefs. You might be religious and believe that God made it. Or you might be scientific and believe that it came about through blind forces, the interplay of blind forces, the Big Bang and all that. Doesn't matter. Just like a dream, the history of the world is created in an instant. When the curtain rises on a play in the theatre, there's some scenery. It might be quite makeshift scenery. It might have been put together that very day, created that very day. But as members of the audience, we see that scenery as indicative of a particular context, a particular background, a particular history. So we feed all that into it. We feed all that into the momentary appearance. So the stability of the world arises because of its apparent history. The world, as we usually understand it, is being created afresh from moment to moment. It only has the history that we give it. We only have the baggage that we give ourselves. We can drop the history, we can drop the baggage, and in this is liberation.